Hi, everybody. We are going to go over the story for the week that is in the schedule. Make sure that you guys are turning in the daily exit questions. Now, remember where you find those. They're in classwork. I actually have a topic now for them, and I'll add today's exit ticket there. But they're located here, and they're also located in the schedule because our administration wanted us to put everything on Google Classroom. That way parents and kids knew where to find it. But I don't care where you turn it in at, as long as it's turned in. If you click on the link that I have for the exit ticket, actually I didn't put it on here. I will, in Google Classroom, click it to make sure that you know what grade you got, but also make sure that you check the grade book. I am keeping that updated. So for this week, the story that you were supposed to make sure that you read Uncle Septimus's Beard and take the quiz on quizzes. If you did not do that, you need to go back to last week and make sure that you do all that stuff. But this week there's two stories. Aunt Misery is a really short one. The first one is the Crane Maiden. Remember, when you guys pull this up, make sure that you open it in Cami. So I'm not sure why this isn't opening in Cami. If you don't have Cami, you won't be able to click on it. You can just write on it. But the pre-reading questions are here. You watched a video last week in Ed Puzzle telling you what a folktale is. If you have not watched that video, then you'll need to go back to last week and click on the links that are in the schedule. So a folktale is a fictional story that has been passed down from generation to generation. I've only gotten a few of these, so I'm not going to go over all of this. Make sure that you share with me. This is the exit ticket question for yesterday. That's on Google Classroom. A folktale usually has a character that represents blank or more blank qualities. Okay, so watch the video and fill this in. And then as you read, you need to answer these questions. What qualities have the old man and his wife demonstrated? And we'll go over those. Today is Wednesday, so we'll go over these tomorrow. So make sure that you have this done before tomorrow, because I don't want to give you the answers. I want to make sure that you do those yourself. But back to the story. The title is The Crane Maiden. It's retold by Rafe Martin. And when something's retold, just like the Mary Pope Osborne story, they hear it and then they write it. So they didn't make this story up, but they heard it. And so you can see over here it says to mark it up. If you would like to use a piece of paper and take notes and use and write your own graphic organizer for active reading, that would be great, because remember on the PSSAs, we can't give you printed copies. You'll have to make your own. So this would be good practice for you to mark it up. Remember, when we read everything. So the background, this selection is a retelling of a Japanese folktale about a crane. Cranes are graceful white birds with long necks. They wade in the water looking for fish, grains, and small animals on which to feed. In Japan, the crane is a symbol of long life. Now, I read a book called Sadako and the 1,000 Paper Cranes. It is a true story about a little girl who wasn't alive during World War II, but her mother was. And when they dropped the atom bomb, the mother was exposed to radiation. And when she got pregnant with Sadako, Sadako got cancer or leukemia from that radiation. And so that's my connection to this story. Because crane partners stay together for life, they are also a symbol of loyalty. I didn't know that. So cranes partner for life, kind of like doves. So focus. As you read the beginning of this folktale, you'll find out what happens when a man encounters a wild creature that needs help. Once long ago, an old couple lived all alone near the edge of a marsh. Now, there's a little footnote there. If you don't know what a marsh is, Jason, you should probably know what or Troy, you should know what a marsh is, right? It's a wet, low-lying area, often thick with tall grasses. We have marshes around here, going towards Erie. I know, whatever road that is, going up to Erie, there are marshes. They were hard-working but poor. One day the man had been gathering marsh plants, cattails, and such for his wife to cook. As he walked back along the trail, he heard a sharp cry and the sounds of someone or something struggling. I wonder what it was. I wonder if it's a crane. Would be a pretty good guess because they've kind of told us that. Parting the long grasses by the trail's edge, he walked carefully into the marsh. The sounds, a clacking and a flapping, whirring noise, came from up ahead. Frightened but still curious, he stepped forward and looked. There on the ground before him lay a great white crane. Its legs were trapped in a snare. Over here is one of your vocab words. Make sure this gets into your digital notebook. A snare is a trap for catching small animals and birds. And it was flapping desperately about trying to get free. Its beak was clacking open and shut. Its eyes was wild with pain and fear. Its wings were muddied. Never had the man seen such desperation in a wild creature. His heart was moved. Speaking soothingly, he drew closer. Somehow the crane seemed to sense his intent and grew calm. Gentle and slow were the man's movements as he approached. Then, bending down, he loosened the snare from the crane's leg and backed away. The crane stood up. Flexing its injured leg, it stood there gazing directly at the man. Then opening its wings, it flapped once, twice, lifted up off the muddy ground, and flew away. The man stood gazing after the great white bird as it made its way across the sky. The tears came to his eyes with the beauty of it. I must see this clearly and remember it every detail, he said to himself. How my wife will enjoy hearing of this adventure. I shall weave every detail into words for her, so she, too, will see. So over here, if you can open it in Cami, you can write this down. Complete the items below to sum up what has happened in the folktale so far. So the setting, obviously setting is time and place, and this takes place in a marsh. I don't think it tells us a city. We're going to assume Japan just because we know a little bit about the history of this folktale. The characters are a man and his wife, and the crane. And the events, well, here's where we have the plot diagram. So we're going to start beginning the story and work up. So a man and his wife lived together. A man went out and found a crane stuck in the mud and caught in a snare, and he saved it, and the bird obviously is appreciative but flew away. You are late, his wife said when her husband returned. I have been worried. Are you all right? I am better than all right, dear wife. I've had an adventure. I have seen such a sight. Wait, let me remove sandals and sit down. I shall tell you. So right here is a key to tell me, yeah, this probably takes place over in Japan because we don't wear sandals. There's a reason that the author said that he took off his sandals. And what I know about the Japanese culture, they wear sandals and they don't wear shoes in the house. So that tells me that this does take place somewhere else besides the United States. Then he told her of his finding the trapped crane, of the bird's panic and pain, and of the great joy he felt as he watched the white bird fly away. Dear husband, I am so glad you helped that wild creature. Truly, it must have been a wondrous sight to see the crane rise up from the muddy ground and soar into the heavens. It was. I have told it to you as best I could, for when I saw it fly, I knew it was a sight you would have loved, and I wanted to share it with you. Thank you, husband. Then she steamed the plants he had gathered, and they ate their rice and drank their tea. And when it grew late and the moon rose up in the blackness and sailed across the night sky, They let the fire sink down and they slept. So all of this right here lets me know, because I know of a little bit about the Japanese culture. I know that they eat rice and they drink tea. Authors put that thing, that's why you need to learn about other people's cultures, to help you understand stories. So over here, pause and reflect. What quality or qualities do the old man and his wife demonstrate? So these are character traits. And nothing in the story, remember we talked about connotation? None of these words make me feel sad or angry or negative in any way. So I'm going to assign good character traits to these people. They're kind, they're generous, they're loving, they're calm. So the next morning, they heard a knocking at the door. The woman opened the door, and there stood a young girl. I am lost, she said. May I come in? Of course, come in, dear child, the old woman said. Have a cup of tea, sit down. So the girl came in. She was alone in this world, she said. Let me confess, she added, after drinking the tea and eating the rice the old couple gave her. I would like to stay here with you. I am a hard worker. I no longer wish to be alone. You are kind people. Please let me stay. So I think, so now I'm making some predictions. Just knowing what they did for the crane, I think they're going to let this little girl stay with them. And I think this girl has something to do with the crane, just because I know how folk tales are. The old couple had always wanted a daughter, and so it was agreed. Thank you, the girl said. I do not think you will regret it. She peered cautiously around the house. She looked into an adjoining room. Her face lit up. I see you have a loom. I use it from time to time. So a loom, so here's a footnote. It's a device for making cloth by weaving strands of yarn or thread together. May I use it from time to time? Daughter, the woman said, all that we have is yours. Of course you may use the loom. I am a shy weaver, the girl said. Please, mother, please. Father, when I am weaving, do not look into the room until I am done. Will you promise me this? It will be as you wish, child. The next day, their new daughter said she would go into the weaving room. The door was to be shut, and neither her father nor her mother went to look in until her work was completed. All day the girl sat at the loom, and all day the old couple heard the clacking and whirling of the shuttle, the spinning of the bobbins of thread. Now I noticed that this is the same phrase that the author used above when the bird was stuck. When the sun was setting, the girl emerged, pale and worn, but in her hand she held the most splendid cloth the old couple had ever seen. The pattern was perfect, the colors glowing. Images of the marsh, the sun, the flight of cranes flowed elegantly through finely woven material. Mother, father, please take this cloth to the market and sell it. With the money, your life will become easier. I want to do this for you. The old people were astonished at their daughter's skills. The next day, the man brought the cloth to the town. Immediately, people began to bid for the beautiful cloth, which was sold at least for 3 royal of gold, an unheard of sum. So over here, do you think the girl is who she appears? Well, doing my active reading, I already figured this out, and that's why you need to do active reading. No, I think she is the crane, or the crane. What qualities does the girl demonstrate? Circle any that would apply. Well, remember, none of these words have a negative connotation, which means connotation is how a word makes you feel. And so I would circle all the words that have a positive connotation. She's generous. She's loyal. She's loving. She's not critical, which means to find fault in things. She may be a little secretive because she told them not to look in, but she's not greedy. That night, the old couple and their daughter, dressed in new kimonos, yep, right there, I know that's from the Japanese culture, ate a wonderful meal, all bought with a small bit of the gold. For several months, life was easy, but then the money was gone. Once more, the daughter entered the room, closed the door, and began to weave. Clack, 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 whir, whir, whir. So there's onomatopoeia. Remember, onomatopoeia are words that represent sounds. Hours later, she emerged. pale and worn. In her arms was a cloth that shone like silver, filled with patterns of the moon and stars, patterns of sunlight and moonlight shining on water. The old couple had never imagined a material of such stunning beauty, but once again the girl said, "Mother, father, do not keep the cloth. I can make more. Please sell it and use the money to care for your old age." So again the man took the cloth to town. The merchants were astonished. They bid furiously, one against the other, until the cloth had been sold for 6 roi of gold. For many months the family lived happily together, but in time the money too was gone. The daughter went once again to the loom, but this time her mother and father were curious. "Oh no," she said, "not to look. This isn't going to be good." Why must they not look? They couldn't bear it. They decided that they would just take a peek through a crack in the wall. If their daughter could not see them, they reasoned, it could not disturb her at all. Clack, 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 whir, whir, whir. The man and the woman walked softly along the wall, knelt down and peered through a thin crack in the paper wall. At the loom sat a white crane, pulling feathers from its own breast, and wings with its long beak. It was weaving with those feathers. The crane turned toward the crack and looked with a great black mournful eye. Mournful means feeling or expressing sorrow or grief. Make sure that gets into your digital notebook. The man and the woman tumbled backward, but it was too late. They had been seen. Later, when the door of the room opened, their daughter emerged, pale and worn. In her arms she held a most magnificent cloth. On it were images of the setting sun, the rising moon, the trees in autumn, the long migrations of the cranes. On it, too, were the images of a man and a woman watching a white crane fly away. "Father, mother," she said, "I had hoped to stay with you always, but you have seen me as I truly am. I am the crane you saved, father, from the trap. I wanted to repay you for your kindness. I shall never forget you, but now that you know the truth, I cannot stay with you." The man and the woman wept. They begged and pleaded, "We love you. Do not leave us. We do not care that you are a crane. You are our daughter. We shall tell no one." "It's too late," whispered the girl. "The marshes call to me. The sky calls to me. The wind in the trees whispers my name." Now that's personification. Remember, personification gives human qualities to inanimate objects. The wind and the trees can't whisper. "And I must follow. Perhaps all is as it should be. The debt has been repaid. I shall never forget you. Farewell." She walked from the hut and stood out in the open air. The man and the woman watched in wonder as before. Their eyes, their beautiful pale daughter became a beautiful white crane, flapping her wings once, twice, 3 times. The great crane rose slowly up off the ground, and circling the hut, flew away. "Farewell," said the man and the woman, watching the crane disappear over the marsh. "We shall miss you, daughter, but we are glad that you are free." After that, every year when the cranes migrated, the old couple left a silver dish of grain out before their door, and every year a beautiful crane came to eat that grain. So the story goes. So make sure that you do the vocab words that are on the side here. Put them in your reading digital notebook. And if you want to, today, you can read Aunt Misery because there's going to be a quiz, and it includes both these stories. Don't forget to do some of the pre-reading. And so we did talk about, probably don't follow these page numbers because they probably don't match. But with all the active reading that I did for you, you should be able to answer these questions. I will double check to make sure. Yeah, you are, because I got one. You can open this in Cami. Please share it with me so that you get credit for the exit ticket for 12-1, which this is what this is. And then make sure that you read the second story. And there will be more work posted. All right, everybody. So I hope that you have a good day, and I hope that you remember to make sure that you sign into class. Remember the sign in. It might still say November, but it's the same thing. Yeah. So I'm going to move this up. Make sure that you sign in. I'm going to change it so it doesn't say November. If you're new to the class, I may need to add you to the attendance, but just email me. I'm going to do that here in a second. So, All right, everybody, keep reading. This week you only need to read 80 minutes since we didn't have school on Monday. All right, well, have a great day. We'll see you. Bye.